0 to 100 kilometers per hour in around 3 seconds used to be supercar territory. But with the proliferation of electric vehicles, that level of performance has now been democratized. And you can get it for a lot less money than you might think. In this respect, I think the Tesla Model 3 performance is an absolute bargain. It feels fantastic for 57,000 euros. And it accelerates to 100 kilometers per hour in 3.1 seconds. And it will keep accelerating up to 262 kilometers per hour. This is some serious performance for a small sedan like this. Very few cars on the road can keep up. The best thing about it though is that it's not only quick in a straight line, it also likes corners. No, it's not gonna beat an M3 around some bends for driver engagement and involvement, but for an electric vehicle, it's fantastic. It's one of the best and most fun I've ever driven. Let me show you how quick it is. So let's see if I have put it in, it's in insane acceleration mode, and I'm gonna stab it. 100. It's really, really good. It pins you to your seat. And while I have driven electric vehicles with similar levels of straight line performance and acceleration, none of them feel quite like this. This is because the Model 3 is really light for an electric vehicle. Even in performance guys, like my tester today, it weighs 1,840 some kilograms. For reference, a BMW i4, the M50 dual motor, which does have over 540 horsepower, but it weighs over 2.3 tons. So it's slower in a straight line than the Model 3 Performance, which only has 460 horsepower and over 700 Newton meters of torque. The one we get in Europe gets a slightly different battery to the one that's on sale in the US. This one is made in China, and the one they get in the US is made in the US. And that has a slightly larger capacity battery, but it also, I assume, allows for a bit of a higher voltage, so they were able to extract more power out of it. So that makes 510 horsepower, and it has a 0 to 60 time of 2.9 seconds, versus this, which has a 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, so 62 miles per hour time, of 3.1 seconds. I can't even imagine how much quicker that must feel with an extra 50 horsepower. But this, whenever you punch it, it takes off and you have to hold on. So how is the Model 3 Performance different from the dual motor long range version? Well, it has more aggressive front and rear bumpers. It gets a plaid badge on the back. Well, I guess it's just a badge to designate a performance Tesla, because you don't get a ludicrous acceleration mode. The highest this goes is insane, which is insane. It also gets special 20-inch wheels, which are staggered. My tester has smaller 19-inch wheels with winter tires, 235s in the front and 265s in the back. It gets more power. The regular long-range Model 3 gets around 400 horsepower. I think a bit less, 390 something, 398. There isn't an exact figure because Tesla doesn't say how powerful they are. Inside, this car gets some really grippy bucket seats. This is the biggest difference, and I'm pretty sure actually the only difference. And these seats have really, really high side bolsters, especially for the cushion part, the part you sit on. You know all those jokes about Americans having big asses and being fat? Well, Tesla wants to disprove that by fitting this car with unusually tight seats. The suspension in the Performance feels quite different from that in the regular dual motor. It is considerably stiffer. So the dual motor got heavily revised suspension compared to the pre-facelift model, and it has what are called frequency selective dampers, which are passive dampers that operate somewhat actively. So they firm up or loosen up depending on what they feel you're doing with the car. And I have to say, comfort in the Model 3 long range was outstanding, truly brilliant, surprising, especially having experienced the pre-facelift Model 3, which was a bit bouncy and it gave you a lot of head toss over certain types of bumps. You get none of that in the regular Model 3. The Performance doesn't have frequency selective dampers. Its shocks are adaptive, but even in comfort mode, they feel considerably stiffer than on the regular model. And if you put them in their stiffer setting, which I'm gonna do now, so Sport, it really, really tightens things up. I think the suspension in its harder setting fits this car's character better. Another difference is the addition of track mode, which I'm going to enable when I can pull over, because you have to be in park. And I'll tell you a bit more about what that does, because it's super interesting and not many other cars have this, not even other performance EVs. So you go to dynamics. Also, I have to put it in park. Then track mode lights up. It tells you that it's, well, you should only use it on the track because it disables and restricts certain functions. And then this pops up. It shows you this kind of stuff. And it allows you, for instance, to toggle between more understeer, neutral handling in the middle, and oversteer. You can also play with the stability assist and choose between off, minimal, and reduced. So even in its highest setting in track mode, it's still reduced. Powertrain endurance, this essentially you change it depending on what you want to do with the car. So if you want to do more laps around the track, you would put this in maximum. And while it may hamper performance at first, once it warms up the battery, you get full access to full power for more time. You also get to choose how much regenerative braking you want. You can even go down to 0, which some performance EV manufacturers, like Porsche for instance, believe it is the right decision. So for performance driving, you don't want any regen because you want to be in complete control of the brakes. So lifting off shouldn't necessarily break the car. And to scrub off speed, you would have to step on the brakes yourself. And you can't do this in the Model 3 Performance. And I absolutely love this customizability. It's fantastic. What's surprising to me about this is that Tesla isn't necessarily an automaker designing cars for enthusiasts, but this is a very enthusiast-focused screen, and I gotta give Tesla kudos for that. Let's do a quick launch. Again, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 3.1 seconds. So weird driving this without any regen, because you get used to it. By the way, this car has fantastic regen because it seems to be just the right amount for any situation. So whenever you lift off, the car stops without you touching the brakes in the place you would want it to stop. It's like it's reading your mind. I really love the regen in Teslas. So anyway, let's floor it. It almost hurts. Wow, this is such a quick car, man. When you have regen disabled in track mode, you realize that even though this car has upgraded brakes, you do have to stomp on the pedal a bit. It feels, I guess, like a manual unassisted brake in like a sports car, something like an Elise. You feel like you have to really step on it. This isn't a bad thing. It gives you more ability to modulate your brake application, but it's not quite as sharp as in some other new performance cars that I've experienced. What really impresses me about this car, and it impressed me in the long-range dual motor as well, is just how good the steering feels. BMW, you should take note. The steering in the Model 3 is sharp and connected. I'm not gonna go as far as to say it has feel, but it's really precise and pleasant to use. I like how you even get a brake temperature reading here in the display. This is a fantastic performance bargain and a really nice car to drive. I mean, for 57,000 euros here in Europe, or even less, $53,000 in the US for an even more powerful version of this car, that's fantastic. It's unheard of. Nothing beats this. The bang for buck. Oh no, we have to set off from a standstill. And it just keeps pulling. To be fair, now we're down to 55% state of charge, and it seems that when you drop below 80, it doesn't quite give you the same performance that it does on a fully charged battery or close to fully charged battery. This is the same in all electric vehicles. There's no launch control or anything of the sort in this car. You just stab it. And it sometimes hurts. I think I'm gonna take it out of track mode because I kind of like the regen. And it's quick enough around this road. I'm not gonna slide it around. I feel like sliding EVs around is a bit more daunting than regular cars. Might be just me, that I'm a bit chicken. So dynamics, take it out of track mode, leave it in insane. You can also adjust the steering weight, and I've always kept this in heavy, especially since you only turn it once in each direction. And even if it's heavier, I don't really mind it. This is a fantastic car that you shouldn't ignore, even if you don't like this company's boss. But you shouldn't boycott Tesla or even sell your car if you already have one just because you don't like them. And there are some brilliant designers and engineers working at Tesla, creating some of the world's best electric vehicles and the world's best electric performance car bargain, the Model 3 Performance. It's still unbeatable, I think. Maybe in China, where you have a lot more choice and there are so many quick sedans in this performance space, but I doubt they feel as good as this. Sure, the seat could have been a bit lower to give you a sportier driving position, and the suspension, the damping at least, feels less sophisticated than in a BMW, which is similarly stiff, but at the same time, when you put it in comfort, it just seems to transform its character more so than this car. It doesn't feel quite as sophisticated. And as much as I like the performance, I'm not sure it's the Model 3 I would get. The long-range model is plenty quick enough in a straight line. It's just over 4 seconds to 100 kilometers per hour. I think it's 4.4. It feels similarly quick in a straight line. There's not much in it. Although, to be fair now, this with less charge in the battery feels about as quick as that. And as much as I like these sport seats with the plaid logo here in the backrest, I still miss a crumb collector here on the cushion side, so a thigh support that you can extend, like in the German cars. Because my legs just feel like they're dangling a little bit. I would like more support for my longish legs, I guess. This also still works as a normal car. It has a lot of interior room for something with this wheelbase. I mean, it's a bit smaller than the 3 Series, but it feels bigger inside, especially if you're a rear passenger. It comes incredibly well equipped as standard, so you have front heated and cooled seats and heated rear seats as standard. The front seats are electric. You get this huge panoramic glass roof, which doesn't have a cover, and you do get a bit cooked on hot days in summer, but you can get some sort of stick-on sunshade if you want. Tesla says it's treated and almost none of the nasty UV light goes through it. I'm sure that's true, but it just doesn't work as well as, you know, an actual cover that you can shut it with. You also get 2 trunks. You get decent space in the front. It's comparable to or bigger than a 911, a Porsche 911. And there's also plenty of space in the trunk as well. You can also fold down the rear seats, as I did when I carried a big and bulky item that I had to slide all the way to the backs of the front seats. The car had no problem taking that. It was a big sink in a box, like almost a meter wide, and actually it was a square box. It was 1 by 1 meter roughly. You also get a lot of range in this car. Even though it's slightly down on the long-range dual motor, you get over 500 kilometers in this. I charged it to, I think, 97 or 98%. And even though we were in winter with -1 to 2 degrees Celsius, it still displayed over 450 kilometers of usable real range, which is excellent. And you can get this car to use very little electricity, even under 15 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So for the last 80 kilometers that I've driven this car, it's 21 kilowatt hours. But I have been hooning it, and I'm sure that if I was in a BMW, it would be over 30 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So BMW's 6th generation batteries and electric motors can't come soon enough. So my conclusion after driving the Model 3 Performance is very similar to what I said after driving the Model 3 Long Range. This is unbeatable. As a package, there are no cars that can compete with it, at least in my mind. Sure, there's the BYD seal, but that just doesn't feel as good as this. To drive, I mean. It's not as engaging. This isn't quite up to the level of a Porsche Taycan in terms of driver engagement. I mean, you sit a lot lower and you feel a lot sportier in that car. Although, adding to the sportiness in the Model 3 is that you don't have a dashboard in front of you. And with the slightly high driving position, it feels like you're driving a mid-engine car. You can see where the fenders are, you can see where the edges of the car are, where the corners are. And this allows you to place it on the road, and it gives you confidence to drive this car quickly around some bends. And this is unique to the Model 3. I have not been in another non-mid-engine car that gives you this feeling. Say what you will about Tesla, but the Model 3, performance or otherwise, is a strong buy, even in 2025. Thank you for watching.